The movie opens up on the dance floor at a Halloween party. A woman named Karen and her husband Brian are having the best time of their lives, dancing to funky songs among their friends. The couple let themselves go for the night as they are soon expecting to enter the life of parenthood. Karen is currently 3 months pregnant and could not be happier about welcoming her child to the world. As she enjoys herself, she suddenly feels a sharp pain in her stomach and steps aside from the dance floor. Brian quickly rushes to his wife's side and insists they go to the doctor immediately. When finally there, the nurses assume Karen is going through labor until she reveals she is not due for another 7 months. The doctor deduces that she might be experiencing an early pregnancy cramp. However, upon checking, he is utterly surprised to see her fully dilated. Within the next minute, Karen pushes out a fully developed baby boy and names him Jack. The doctors run a bunch of tests on him and find out that he has an exaggerated form of Werner syndrome, a condition that causes his cells to grow 4 times faster than the normal rate. Because of this, even though Jack is supposed to be a 2-month-old infant in his mother's belly, he is currently a fully developed newborn. The parents are worried for his well-being until they are assured that the kid is perfectly healthy and in good shape. They are also warned that Jack's condition will turn him into a fully grown 40-year-old man at the age of 10. The parents are shocked, but they hold their baby close, promising to take care of him no matter what. The scene then transitions to a decade later, and as predicted by the doctor, Jack, now 10 years old, finds himself trapped in the body of a 40-year-old man. But despite his outward appearance, he has the innocence and nature of a child. Although his parents have tried their best to give Jack a life he deserves, they are too protective of him. Because of this, he has never stepped out of his gated house and is homeschooled by his only companion, Lawrence Woodruff. The neighboring children catch only glimpses of Jack through the window, leading them to perceive him as a tall, child-eating monster. One day, while Woodruff is attempting to tutor Jack, the children in front of his house make a lot of noise, trying to get a glimpse of him. In an attempt to play a prank on them, Jack tosses a gooey eyeball toy through the window. Eventually, Woodruff manages to refocus Jack on his studies, but he notices a profound sadness lingering in Jack's eyes. He understands that Jack is a kid after all and is missing out on his life because of his condition. After the class, Woodruff proposes to Karen and Brian that they consider sending Jack to school. He even suggests that they could inform the principal in advance, prepare the other children for Jack's arrival to make him fit right in, but the parents remain resistant. In the evening, Jack and Karen engage in a game of Marco Polo around the house. As the game concludes, Jack musters the courage to ask Karen if he is truly a monster the kids portray him as. Karen reassures him that he is just a regular kid like anyone else his age, even though this couldn't be further from the truth. The following day, Jack gets the best surprise of his life and is informed that he will be attending school for the very first time. With great enthusiasm, he shaves off his beard and dresses himself in appropriate clothes. Karen prepares his lunch and they embark on their journey to Jack's new and better life. Upon arrival, they are greeted by Principal McGee and teacher Miss Marquez. Timidly, Jack enters the classroom and stands before his new classmates. From the corner of his eyes, he also sees the children he had chased away the previous day. Miss Marquez then tells Jack to take a seat, which is unfortunately too small for him. While trying to settle in, he falls off, making a fool out of himself in front of his classmates. When given a new and bigger seat, the same thing happens again, sending Jack into a pit of embarrassment. During recess, he sits alone on the playground as other children observe him and whisper among themselves about his unusual size. The group of kids he had chased away earlier watches him with fear, anticipating that he might retaliate against them for bothering him. The leader of the group, Lewis, takes out a monster eye from his bag and briefly shows it to Jack before putting it away. Suddenly, a group of mean jocks challenges them to a basketball game, which turns out to be good entertainment for Jack. When the game is about to end in the jock's favor, the basketball accidentally lands near him. When he tries to return it, the rest of the jock kids refuse to touch the ball, believing it to be contaminated now that Jack has touched it. At the end of the day, Jack sulks when he returns home and refuses to eat his favorite food. In an attempt to lighten the mood, Brian shares a personal story with Jack, recounting the day he first learned to ride a bicycle and highlighting how much he has improved since then. Using this example, he helps Jack understand that the children at school will gradually warm up to him. The next day during lunchtime, Jack finds himself eating alone in a tunnel as he doesn't have anyone to sit with. Miss Marquez, feeling bad for him, joins him and shares the meal. At the same time, Lewis and his friends are once again challenged to a basketball game, but they are short on players. Without a second thought, Lewis invites Jack to join their team. Initially, he struggles to grasp the rules of the game, but as he becomes more familiar with it, he starts scoring the most points and leads Lewis's team to their first victory. Later in Miss Marquez's class, she assigns an essay about their future aspirations and pays special attention to Jack due to his unique condition. This being the first time a girl has given Jack any attention, he starts to develop a crush on his teacher. After school, Jack expresses his gratitude to Lewis for allowing him to play basketball with him. In return, Lewis asks Jack for a favor: to pretend to be the principal in front of his mother, Dolores, so that he can avoid getting into trouble for not completing his homework. Jack hesitates and has doubts about the idea, but Lewis doesn't give him a chance to explain. Dolores arrives at the school, introduces herself to Jack, believing him to be the principal, and explains that her recent divorce has been causing Lewis to act out. As Dolores talks, Jack responds with only brief and concise answers. He concludes the conversation by assuring her that Lewis is the brightest student in the school and that she shouldn't worry about him. Before leaving, Dolores shares her contact number, inviting Jack to have lunch with her sometime. Later, Lewis expresses his gratitude to Jack for supporting him and includes him in his group of friends. That day, Jack returns home, filled with joy and excitement. He energetically moves around the house, calling his father at work to share everything that happened throughout the day. On the weekend, Lewis visits Jack's house and invites him for a sleepover. Karen excitedly allows him, but instead of heading to the house, they ride their bicycles to a tree house where Lewis and the group often gather. The rest of the children initially resist the idea of including Jack in their group, but Lewis convinces them by revealing that Jack was able to obtain an adult magazine for them. Realizing that Jack might be useful for various favors, they reluctantly accept him into the group. Throughout the night, they engage in conversations about girls and alcohol and even participate in farting competitions. Meanwhile, Karen feels a sense of longing for her child as he is away from home for the first time in 10 years. Brian discovers her sitting inside the box that Jack often plays with and reassures her that their child's growth and independence are positive developments. The following day at school, the kids take a class picture for the yearbook, and starting that day, Jack becomes an inseparable member of the group. They hang out at the treehouse almost every day, go trick-or-treating on Halloween, and Jack continues buying more adult magazines for his friends. He is the happiest he has ever been in life, but as time passes, he rapidly starts growing older. By the end of the school year, his classmates start to submit their essays about what they want to be in the future. But Jack hasn't decided yet. A girl says she wants to get married by 28, but when Jack does the math, he finds out he can only marry when he is 112 years old. He mutters to himself that he wants to be alive when he grows up. After class, he asks Miss Marquez to be his date for the dance. As she tries to explain they cannot go together, he kisses her. Miss Marquez is taken aback and straightforwardly informs Jack that he is just a child, so they cannot attend the dance together. She apologizes to him, but he breaks down in tears and runs away. Unfortunately, his day takes a turn for the worse as he trips and falls down the stairs. He is promptly taken to the hospital, causing his worried parents to rush to his side. The doctor reveals that Jack's body has been significantly strained due to the rapid rate of his cell multiplication. As a result, his internal clock is starting to tick away, indicating that he doesn't have many years to live. The news is too much for the parents to handle. Hence, upon returning home, Karen explains to Jack that they have made the decision to withdraw him from school for his own safety. Jack, in turn, throws a tantrum, desperately pleading with Brian to let him return to school and be with his friends. However, his parents know they cannot allow it after what has transpired. Later that night, Karen and Brian are discussing Jack in their room, unaware that he has found the matchbox containing Dolores' number and the name of a club on it. He manages to sneak out for the first time and ventures to the club. There, he encounters a man named Paul and joins him for drinks. Later on, he meets Dolores and they begin dancing together. However, when she attempts to initiate more intimate contact, Jack recalls that she is his friend's mother and pulls away. As he tries to distance himself from her, he accidentally bumps into a drunk guy who starts a fight. Jack insults the man, provoking him to punch him in the face. As the night comes to an end, Jack finds himself in jail due to the fight at the bar, but Dolores comes to his aid and drives him back home. Fortunately for him, his parents are asleep, so he manages to avoid getting into trouble. 2 weeks pass since the incident, and Jack spends the entire time sulking in his room. Despite his friends' attempts to visit him daily, he refuses to leave the house. In a bid to encourage Jack to come out, Karen contacts his oldest buddy and tutor, Woodruff, and invites him to their house. Jack engages in a conversation with him, expressing that he doesn't want to learn things which he won't have the opportunity to apply in his limited lifespan. Several days later, Lewis gathers the entire class outside Jack's house, encouraging him to come out and join them for playtime. The following day, Jack musters the courage to leave his room and decides to return to school. His parents, witnessing his newfound happiness, gives their consent, and the classmates joyfully welcome his return. 7 years pass, and Jack and his friends find themselves graduating from high school. Jack has visibly aged, with gray hairs and wrinkles. In the movie's finale, he delivers a speech, reminding the audience that life is short, but encouraging them to live it as they please. And that's a wrap for this movie recap. Thanks for watching.